Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm so happy to be part of this DataVerse Summit today. So today I'm going to talk about DataVerse, why DataVerse, and possible integrations, from DataVerse. We will also, create some events into the, Azure. Okay. So before I start off with my session, so I will quickly introduce myself, Devi Kumari Krishna. I'm a solution architect with 15 plus years of industry experience. So I'm proficient in analyzing and translating the business requirements, and I have worked in almost all modules of CRM and still wetting my hands on Power Apps. Okay, so I mean these are my connects. You could reach me out in LinkedIn, and this is my blog ID. So I'll just minimize this so that if you want you could scan the QR code. Okay, so today's agenda is I would cover Dataverse, why Dataverse, and possible integrations, and then we are going to jump to demo. As we all are aware, this entire platform is the expertise of Power Apps and CRM. Microsoft Dataverse is a cloud-based low-code data service and application platform. So it helps us to structure variety of data. You bring any data source and give any data to us. It structures everything into in common structure called entity model. So every data is aligned in the entity in terms of rows with specific or more information added column wise to each rows. So variety of business logics can be handled. So who cannot use, or to whom we don't recommend data source, when if I want to design any application which is standalone and it has to run on a single PC, we definitely don't recommend Dataverse because it runs on in the internet connection. Okay, so Dataverse, it is what is Dataverse? So it is a single instance to precisely say it stores data in a standard way and custom data structure called tables. So how much data it can store, it is all dependent upon the the license model that we have and the access we have on the respective instance. Okay, so why Dataverse? So I mean, how Dataverse supports us in terms of security, scalability. So in terms of security, so our entire data is highly secure. We can authenticate using single sign-on Azure AD, and we could also extend the access using multi-factor authentication. So in terms of authorization, it is governed by the security role model and additional field security profiles to control the data row wise and column wise. So auditing, who is accessing the app, what data they are accessing, all these can be audited, and this data can be logged out in a report format for analytics. So in terms of scalable, so the application is highly scalable. It supports large data sets, complex data models. Each table can hold millions of data. So we could even extend the data stored in a table up to 4 terabyte per instance. So storage, we all know that it is running on Azure cloud. So in a relational databases, you could export documents into the files, blobs, data lake, and you could create Azure SQLs, custom SQLs, and store that as a data repositories. So what all applications run on Dataverse? All the Dynamics 365 applications run on Dataverse. So it supports transactional multi-user applications. I mean, where you are targeting that the response is pretty quick. I look into a form, or look into a gallery where I immediately want to go ahead and book the product. So those kind of immediate responsive user interactive operations or transactions is supported using Dataverse. So the Power Apps, Power Automate, AI builders, and Power Apps portals, all features utilizes this Dataverse. It is not platform. It is not definitely a platform for bad jobs or processing things. So there we delegate these processing jobs to Azure Web Jobs, or any other middleware which could help us in processing activities. Okay, so when I talk about Dataverse, I will definitely mention about the common data model, because Dataverse implements the common data model. So common data model is the one which offers us the logical design. It helps us to include a set of open source, standardized, and extensible data tables, and govern the relationship between these data tables. It helps us to simplify how we manage the data, how we show some data to an app, and how we restrict some data to an app. All these rules, structures are all governed by this common data model. Okay, so when I talk about Dataverse integrations, so I mentioned that all the Dynamics 365 applications run on Dataverse. So the first and foremost, our Dynamics 365 CRM connects with Dynamics 365 operations, exchange lot of data, ERP system being the product masters, and the specific tool designed for invoicing. So there are a lot of exchanges happening in between these two systems. So there are data integrators which govern these transactions, but it comes with its own set of limitations. So there are specific templates, and it is uniquely those templates are designed for a sales module like prospect to cash, or if I have to distribute or exchange data for a different entity, I have to create custom templates, and again it is unidirectional. So I have to create one more template and bind the data for exchanging data back from the system. So having all these complexities to exchange data between operations and CRM systems, Microsoft came up with an excellent product called Dual Write. We had seen that in the functional sessions as well. So Dual Write overcomes the limitations of data integrator in a wide variety, where the communication is bidirectional. So it is all simple configurations, and you could enable it for any of the entities in this landscape. The templates are not specifically designed, so you can just go ahead and do the mappings. So, but the interaction of a Dataverse platform is not limited to the applications within Dynamics 365. So, we are thinking beyond that. So, what do we do with this data, and what do we do with this, logging of these transactions? So, I need a place, I don't want to overburden my CRM system by storing all of these informations. So, I'm looking for environment where I, push all my logs, use it in a productive way in terms of analyzing, bring in more analytics to the data, and really understand what customer is how customer is using my Dataverse platform, and what are the day in day out operations they do, and what can I automate further. So to give all these ideas to the product owners, Microsoft, so we are talking about these integrations today. So how do we do this? We have our own tool, Microsoft Azure. So we'll talk about integrating from Dataverse to Azure. We could write events to Event Hub, Service Bus, use webhooks, and we could also export the data to Azure SQL, Azure data lakes. Well, it is all governed by the process. So we create an Event Hub, register the endpoints, then we need a code, register the code. We have to create a listener so that the listener is waiting for an action. So there is a trigger from Dataverse side. So once there is a trigger, we verify and go and log the events into the respective Event Hub. Okay. So now I will switch on to the demo. If you have any functional questions, I would I'd like to take it now. Otherwise, you leave it in the chat, and I will take it towards the end. So I have two scenarios to demo today. So based on the availability of time, maybe I will try to show more. So first scenario is, now I will create a Azure function, and using that Azure function, we will create a plugin trigger, then create events within the functions that is created in Azure. So I will quickly show move on to the screen. Just bear with me for a minute. Yeah, I'm back. Okay, so now I'm on my Azure portal. So here I have created a resource group. So the resource group is more like a package which holds all the resources which is written for a specific business functionality. So today all my resources I'm grouping under the resource group called Microsoft Inspire. So I have created a Event Hub. Okay, I have created an Event Hub namespace. Under this I have an Event Hub. So we will see how we are going to push our events to this Event Hub namespace. I also have created a webhook function app. This is predominantly a name I have given because I'm going to, integrate my function app with the Webhook plugin. Okay, while it is loading, so we will go and quickly create the code. Okay, that's pretty fast. So I have couple of functions already available. I have disabled the contact plugin. We will enable it after we write the code. Okay. So hope you are still seeing my screen. So right now I'm in the Visual Studio where I already have a solution created. Now I'm going to add a Azure function to it. So I'm choosing the Azure function template. So let me rename it. Okay. So I'll create a HTTP trigger and the authorization level I will set it to function level. All right. So I will remove the existing code that has been created. We will implement a very simple logic so that we all understand this concept. To use this, I'm going to use system.net. Will also include the namespace under system.net, the HTTP. Okay. So I will create a HTTP response message. I will create a HTTP request message. Okay, so we are going to log very specific information here just to see that, I mean, how our uh, function app is, getting the triggers from DataVerse. So let me just keep it as DataVerse contact entity. Right? So I'll create a simple string variable. Okay. We're going to read the, string information here. And then again, I'm going to log this information. That's it. So that we are going to return a response. So here, now I'm not going to bind anything. We will just give a hard coded value. So let me choose a status code, status code as my response. Okay. So that is all. We have our simple Azure function written. So it is expecting some class. Hope I'm missing something. I lost my response here. Okay. So let me save it. So let me build. Okay. So now I want to publish this Azure function so that this is recognized under my Azure portal. So how do I publish? So to publish, I have to come back to my function app. So if I will go to the overview section, oops, that's really slow today. Okay, I'm waiting for the get published profile, which is available from the overview section. Okay, while it is loading, I think I will have it from my previous publishings. Yeah, so this is the publish settings which we receive from the Azure portal. So let us try to invoke this. Okay, so I right click, I hit on publish. So you could see here that, I already have my published profiles enabled, but I'm just, yeah, here you go. So when I click this get published profile, I will be able to download the settings. Okay. So I'll go to the folder. I will use the same published file. Okay. So to publish, let me not use any of the existing available things. I will import this fresh file. So I have clicked on new. I'm going to import the file. So here I'm going to call the publish setting file from my system. Okay, so this is the file we just downloaded. Okay, yeah. So I don't have to make changes anywhere else. So automatically this URL will govern everything. So I am going to hit on publish. So I'm going to wait for the publishing to complete. Okay, now the publishing is successful. So I go back to my Azure. So here, because I have this, okay, we forgot one important thing. Yeah, this is a function name which we are expecting here. Okay. So the refreshing is little slow. Okay, so I have it here. So now I will enable because it is for the same plugin. Okay. Okay. So you could see here that our contact AF function is created here. Yeah, this is the contact AF. So I also had additional classes which got published. Let's register only the contact AF plugin here. So now my function under my function app, I am able to successfully publish my function. So now I have to register a plugin to send information to this function. So I will quickly open this function. You see here there is a get function URL, which is it will return a URL with the code which we are going to use for registration. So I will copy this. So let me have it in my notepad for a while. I have my plugin registration tool open, but still I will go ahead and create a new connection. So I am using the trial which belongs to India region. It is a cloud, so I have chosen Office 365. Okay, so here I will try to register a webhook. Okay, so I will use the name which I had given here. Okay, so we had copied this URL, right? So I'm going to use the first URL part without any query string parameter in the endpoint URL. Before that, the authentication model I'll choose is webhook key. Okay, I've given the endpoint. So now, whatever is the query string parameter, I'm going to copy the value alone. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I have registered. So let me add a new step. So I will trigger this on create of contact records. So let me, create. I'll choose the primary entity as contact. Okay, yeah. So we will leave for now in synchronous and post operation. So let me go ahead and register the step. Yeah, we have registered successfully. I go back to Azure. So now that we have set up, while I'm creating a record, I will switch on the monitor to see how immediately I'm able to capture the logs here. So we would think that it is also possible to trace the logs within Sierra, but we are all aware that those logs are going to occupy the capacity of log database and eventually the Dataverse instance space. Okay, while this is loading, so I think I already have my Power Apps open. So I'm on the contact entity page. So I'll try to create a new record. Okay, so I'll keep the logs open. Yeah, it's now connected. Oops. Okay, I'll create. Yeah, I'll keep the informations very minimal. Okay, so I'm saving here. Could see that immediately I'm getting the logs. So you could see it is from the record we just created. Okay. Okay, so in invocation, yeah, it takes a millisecond. There is a millisecond difference. You could see the results may be delayed up to 5 minutes, but it is not that late. So you get it, within a minute. So let me try to refresh. I'll wait until the specified time is there. Okay, so we'll create one more record to see if the performance is the same. Okay, so I create one more record. Okay, yeah, I started getting the logs here. Yeah, you could see that yeah, the response is immediate. So now let me go to my invocations. Okay, I think this has to be for the previous message. Yeah, this is for the previous message. So this is the kind of information. See, this is from our function app. Data was contact entity is a command that we had given. So it traces everything. Okay, so from our function. Right, so we will be able to log as much information as required, and what we want to further push it for our analytics. Okay, so now I will go to the second integration where I'm going to send events using a Power Automate flow to the event hub. So for this I have created flow, but I will again create it from fresh and we will disable the old one. Okay. So let me quickly create. First, let me see if I'm on the right environment. Yes. So I'll click on new. So I'm going to create a automated cloud flow. So let me keep the name. Okay. Okay. So I could choose from the list of triggers which is available here, or else I can skip and go and choose it in the next window also. I'm going to see if it is readily available. Yeah, I could see here. So I'm going to use the Dataverse when a row is added, modified, or deleted. So I'm going to use this. Okay, so we are good to rename it here. I will leave it as is for now. So now let me choose the change type as added. Okay, and I will choose the table name. accounts. So I'll keep the scope to organization level. So let me see if by default, yeah, my connection is there because my Azure tenant and my database platforms, everything is on the same ID. So now I add a new step. So now I will create a scope here. Okay, so let me add a scope control and we will just I'll just quickly rename it to try block. So the action is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to directly call my event hub here. So there are two events available out of the box. So we are going to send events. So I already have an event which I had shown you, which is the Davis event hub in my go to homes. Yeah, you could see the Davis event hub is already available. Okay, I come back. So I'll keep some simple messages. I will just add the account name. Let me quickly check if data ID is there. Yes. So on success, we'll just add some text. Okay. Take these two values. Now I'm going to add one more action. So either I keep it as send event or I could, rename it. Okay. So now I add one more action. So this is again a scope action where let me choose the scope control. So we will create a catch block. Okay. So let me rename it as catch. And I only want this to execute when I encounter some failures from my previous step. The previous step is on successful account creation. So here on when the successful account creation fails, that is when we are planning to trigger the scope. So here again, I will put my failure events also to the same event here. Okay, so I'm able to choose. Okay, so let me choose on failure. You only give the account name. Okay, so we are good to go. So let me. I'm leaving the name as is. That should be fine. And we could also add some notes now, right? So failure events. Okay, so I'm saving it. Okay, so I wasn't sure I will have time to demonstrate, so I already created the flow. I will quickly delete the flow which I had earlier created. Yeah, we will run on this flow. Okay, now we have the flow ready. So I will go ahead and start creating new account records. Okay, so I have my account table open. I will create. Okay, yeah, we are only tracking the name, so I think these two informations is fine for us. Okay, I come back to metrics. Yeah, you could see here after 4 o'clock we have. So I'm just trying to keep the chart to last 1 hour. Yeah, you could see here I'm just tracking only last 1 hour here. So if I will refresh, yeah, the successful request count is increased and I have the record tracked exactly at 4:03. There is a record created. So how do I further see these logged information in a classic view? For that, we need Azure Data Explorer. Unfortunately, I am not covering that in the trial instance which I have, so it's not going to be shown here. So, but I have a wonderful, reading on how do I see those data in the Azure Data Explorer. Hope many of you would have explored already. If not, I am putting the link in the chat. Okay. So that helps us to understand how these logs right now you could see that what is the success rate, whether my messages come in. So all those things can be tracked, monitored in this metrics itself. But individual level, if I want to drill down into my logs, so then it is expecting the Azure Data Explorer, where I could go and see all these logs. I don't have that with me, so you won't see any data in this classical view here. Okay. Right. So I think these are the two demos I had for today. So now I will jump into my uh, Azure function to see if I got the log for the second records that we had created. Okay, go back to home. Let me go and check my webhook. Okay. Yeah, invocation traces are available, so we have not missed anything. Okay, so so is it only possible that we are able to track these logs in the event hubs? No. And is it only possible that using Power Automate only I can write all these logs to the event hubs? Again, it is no. So we will be able to do the same action. You all know that we have this service bus and queue listeners. Even before the age of Azure, we used to write service bus and queue listeners, which is used to post the information and listen for trigger informations using the listeners. So we could still go ahead and write those custom service bus and queue listeners. So Power Automate flows helps us to do this in certain way. But when we see that there are some custom validations to be performed, and it is the transactions is going to be huge, and especially when it comes to the banking transactions, where every minute information I have to trace, I have to keep on updating, and those information is really useful for me to perform some analytics. In those scenarios, we write our custom service bus. So in our custom service bus, we just we write code, and we bind the data to that service bus and push it to Azure. So it is not necessarily you have to push it to event hubs. You could push it to Azure data lake, data factories, or a custom SQLs which can be picked up for analytics. Okay. So I see so many questions there. So maybe we will open the forum for queries.
Hello there, Devi. Thanks for that. Okay, yes, there are quite a few questions here. So let's begin from the top. So the first question is by Bipin. He's asking, what version of Azure Function Runtime are you using? CRM SDK can only be used from V1 Azure Function app.
Yeah, okay. So I will quickly check and show you. My version of Visual Studio is, 2019. So let me quickly check. Yes, it is, the framework.NET Core 3.1. So anything beyond 3.1 or later is used for the function app codes.
And Rams also mentioned that both not needed to be the same framework. We can use the function app with the default framework available in Azure. We can use any
Yes.
framework in VS
Yes.
while publishing. Okay, next question. Bipin's asking, can we register sync step for Webhook? If yes, What happens if the error is thrown? Network issue from function will roll back entire transaction.
Yes, if we, if you would have seen, we have done it in a sync step only. So let me show my, step. Yeah, we have done it in sync step only. The entire transaction will roll back. You're right.
Great stuff. So next question by Davey. How do you get the context in Azure function?
How do you get the context? Which context? Can you be specific?
CRM context.
Okay, CRM context. So we are doing it as a HTTP trigger only, right? We will be able to, invoke the organization service. So any, not just CRM data, any data which which is in the format of our JSON, no, we will be able to get it in the Azure functions.
Okay, Bipin is asking, how can we check condition before posting data to the Event Hub, Service Bus webhook? For example, if the account category is X, then post the data. I don't want to keep on posting data on every record create update.
Yeah, I mean, you could apply conditions in your, Power Automate. So in your, scope context, we will be able to add a step to, validate the data before it is going and, calling the event hubs.
Okay, so the next question is by Abdul, who's asking, why use Event Hub and not push it direct to Service Bus?
Okay, so this is we could push it directly to service bus also. So that is one of the channel available, which, and event hub is the other channel that is available. So when you want your data to be picked up, not only by Event Hub but many channels, in that case you go to Service Bus, because from Service Bus, many other, Azure components can pick the data. If I'm very specific that, I need the data for, analytics, and I'm going to pick my data from the Event Hubs, I target the data to Event Hub.
Great.
So
Okay.
both are, near to real time. You will be getting the, information. So both are good.
Excellent. Okay, so here we go. So Phil is saying the context is available as a remote execution context, but recommend to pick the fields out from the JSON directly. Satya is saying you can write a custom Azure plugin to check the condition before posting the message to Azure Service Bus.
Yes, both are possible. We could write custom logic, and also within the Power Automate also we could, enable conditions to validate before, binding the data to the Event Hub.
Great stuff. Okay. So, are there any more questions? Are there any more questions for this session? Because we still have about 15 minutes. So just want to make sure everyone is happy. Or do you have any other questions related to any other topics? Please ask them now in the chat window. Our next session is also related to a similar topic. Is actually our next session is actually on the same topic of webhooks, actually. So and best practices. So it will still be on the same topic, similar topic, same concept, same theme. So we will be carrying on our conversation here. I'll just check to see if Adnan's actually online. So thank you so much, Devi, for this session. Very well presented, I have to say. You're always raising the bar, so thank you once again.
Thank you, Ras, and thank you everyone for this opportunity. So I'll publish my, connects in LinkedIn. Please, feel free